glad that you could attend on her behalf.
Almost ready. We're about to start the live stream. Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I have an echo here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Town of Ashland, Miss Amos. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Nora unmuting, but I don't hear Nora.
Here.
Now I hear you.
Okay, I had to get my headset. Thanks.
Chesterfield County, Miss Smith.
Here.
Miss Walker.
Here.
Hanover County, Mr. Vidunez.
Here.
Henrico County, Mr. Yor.
Here.
Miss Smidler.
Here.
VDOT, Mr. Riblet. Mr. Woodson. Miss McAdory.
Good morning, here.
CBTA, Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Plan RBA, Mr. Bushing. Mr. Riggin.
Here.
City of Colonial Heights, Mr. Flippin.
Here.
Miss Syedmock.
Here.
Polar, Miss Farrar.
Here.
Sports Backers, Mr. Tyndall. Tri-Cities MPO, Mr. Swakowski.
Here.
And Virginia Capitol Trail, Miss Anthony. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Janice. Do we have any amendments to the meeting agenda? All
No.
right. And next on our agenda is open public comment period. Any comments received?
We have not received any comments.
And looks like we've got some attendees, but they're from localities or from Tri-Cities. Next, we've got the wayfinding plan update. You're going to handle that, Gladys?
Yes.
If Gladys, if you'd prefer, I can share the slides or you can do it yourself, either way.
Let me see if I can share the screen.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes.
So this first file is the master plan, the signage standards master plan for the proposed signs. It's like I explained in other instances, it's a basic menu of possible signs that have a possibility to be customized as we apply them to the different localities and sections of the trail. So this is the font that we are going to be using, Universe Condensed. It's one of the accepted fonts for signage, both vehicular and pedestrian. These are some of the symbols that we'll be using. I think we try to capture all the activities that happen on parks and that different sections of the trail goes through. But we can always add. Okay. These are on this page, the vehicular signs. This will be a vehicular trailhead sign that probably will show the parking location for the trailhead if there's one. This will be a vehicular directional sign if there's a need for that. An urban marker / parking marker when the trail goes through streets, roads, and there's not enough space to display a larger sign. This will be just reminders that the trail still keeps going through those vehicular streets. These are the banners that we are proposing, like that. We have a specification for, we did a lot of research and we found the best specification for holding the banners so that they don't become a hassle in terms of maintenance. However, these are optionals. Each district, of course, will be responsible for the maintenance. So they will only be used if the district agrees and if it's proper for that section of the trail. If not, they will just remain as part of the manual. These are the pedestrian signs. Originally, we had a trailhead sign and a regulatory sign, but most times we want to put the regulations at the trailhead. So we thought we will combine both signs. So all the trailhead signs will have a set of regulations. Of course, this information that is on the sign is for position only. Those regulations is something that we will have to, I mean, the districts will have to discuss and agree upon some basic things like, you know, dogs be on a leash, or maybe the hours, if there's a park that is closed, the hours, opening hours or hours of operation. So I think probably there will be a set of rules for the whole trail, and then they will be customized for each section. For example, if that section has a part that is closed at sunset. Then the second sign is a pedestrian directional sign. There are like 3 sets of pedestrian directionals. This one, and this one. And again, it's a menu of options. The one in the middle is the one that has the most height, and it's possibly one that will be in a vehicular section of the trail, but we still want to display pedestrian information. The other 2 could be options for any section of the trail that needs pedestrian signs. Then we have a pedestrian map if there's a need for a map. These pedestrian signs, these 2 may or may not include maps. This element here that is in most of the signs is not finished, but it's going to be just a very schematic representation of the trail, of the whole trail. It will have just the name of the beginning in Ashland, the end in Patton Park in Petersburg, and some references to the counties and possibly some reference to the intermediate trailheads, but will be very schematic. This map, if there's a need for it, it will be more applied to the section that we are trying to, where the sign is located, in case there's a need for a map, because there may not be clear just the verbal information as to where the trail goes or where people should follow. Then there are mile markers. We designed 2 of them, a regular one and one for flat zones that is similar, but it has a little higher base to avoid, you know, getting the sign damage and having to work on maintenance. Then these that we call warning signs are elements that we were planning on using for different instances. For example, when we when it's not clear where the trail goes and we want to tell people this trail keeps going, it continues here, or when there's a street crossing, or they have to cross rails, or where there's a change in the surface of the trail. So those are little signs that we plan on using as needed for different circumstances. Then the vinyl decals or wraps that can go in light posts, or any vertical, horizontal, or any kind of element where we can put that will accept vinyl decals. The square plates that probably are going to be metallic plates. These can also be foam core temporary signs. Basically, we give, in the general specifications, we give some options. Then a rectangular plate that can act as a post cap, so we can use that one as well. And then the ground decal that when we get into the specifications, there are multiple options, as Mr. Tyndall proposed different materials and different elements to address any decal or any ground element that we can include in the trail, including branded crosswalks, which when we get into the Henrico section, I would like to address those. So then these parts of the manual, I'm going to go through quickly. I mean, I think the information was distributed, and if you want to look at it in more detail, you can, but basically the sign drawings include each sign type. It shows all the sizes, the letter size, the arrow size. Then this section shows the materials that are going to be used. This is a side view. This is a back view. So if the sign is double-sided, because it's cantilevered, of course, on one side you will see the main body of the sign pointing one direction, and then the reverse. And this is the top view. Let's see. So this applies the same to all the sign types. It's sizes, materials, side view, top view, front view, back view. This one shows a little bit what we are proposing, the specific buckle, and we provide information as to where to get those, the websites.
Mark, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes, sure.
Just right here on this view, on the top view, to the right. Well, actually, if you go back to a couple of slides, and maybe it was a typo. So to the right, it's orange, but should it be green?
Yes.
Okay, just a typo.
Yes.
There a couple slides had the wrong color. No biggie.
Yes, well, we, as you know, we discussed the colors and they change. There were several iterations. These drawings were created with the former version of the color. So when we updated, probably we skipped some of them. I will make a note to make sure that we are using the correct colors.
And can I just follow up another? I hate to interrupt the flow, but so those panels they look fairly thick. What is the thickness?
1/8 inch.
But that doesn't really scale to 1/8 inch. That looks like
No.
it's
The 1/8 inch is the thickness of the aluminum, but those details are at the end of this drawing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just
So
bear
it's-
with me a little bit longer, because there are basically two ways that the signs are constructed. So if we could advance, because basically this shows. So you see, this one is one of the options. This one also, we've forgotten all the top views to change the colors on some of them. And this one too. Okay. This, by the way, were some of the layouts that we were thinking of for these smaller signs. When there's a surface change, a steep grade, a traffic signal, caution tracks. These are samples of the usage. I don't know if I saw in the standards that there's a reverse version of the logotype, so I don't know if that's something that we are interested in exploring. I was thinking, any ground signs, because the background is white and they are going to be walked upon and rode upon, that we may consider reversing the logotype or not. But in any case, let's see. I think, oh, okay. So because the signs are cantilevered, most of the signs, except for one of the pedestrian signs, the sign is a box. So the 1/8" aluminum actually forms the box. And then the box has a structure where the aluminum is applied to. So what you see here, the little hand is pointing, is sort of a frame for the sign. And that frame is attached to the post. And then it's covered by the aluminum face. I'm just showing this. This is the thinnest sign, actually, but most of the others are the larger signs. And because they are cantilevered, that means they have only one post to the side to ensure that they don't collapse due to weight. When we discuss it with our manufacturing consultant, that's what they advise. And this is the way, this is how the signs in the city of Richmond are, that they are also cantilevered, and all of them have this frame structure. Then these signs where we may choose to have independent inserts for each location. And this will be useful maybe if we are thinking that on that section there's a park or a place that is going to be having an updated name or changing the names, or if we think that a new destination will be added soon and we want to have the capability of changing the insert. So these are individual inserts that are attached to the post with a system that is concealed, but that, because these are not going to be as heavy and as long, we can, even if they are cantilevered, we can do the individual elements. But this is the only instance in which the signs are not using a frame. So in terms of the breakaway, every vehicular sign or every sign that is located close to an artery where cars drive and can hit the sign, we are going to be using the breakaway. And then this will be a typical base for a sign that is not located where in proximity to driving vehicles. And this is pretty much the overall drawings for the master plan, the standards that we are going to be using. I don't know
So-
if there are any questions.
Gladys, this is
Yes.
Barb. Can dimensions be added to the detail for the pedestrian sign base?
You mean this one?
No, the one you were just at. Go where you were. Like the depth. Go advance a couple slides. Go to like 29, slide 29.
Oh, okay.
Nope, 27, sorry.
I think
Uh,
it's 26.
Are you talking about these numbers or?
Yes,
Okay, yes.
Can you add dimensions to that?
You mean to these or?
Like, how deep is this?
Oh,
It says
well,
14-inch cover to cover, 12-inch
well,
footer.
we usually don't include the dimensioning of the bases. That's left to the sign manufacturer. So we are just telling them it has to be concrete. You can't just, put a post on the ground and then they will fall. We had experience with other existing signs from other clients that they didn't use concrete and the sign sways all the time. So that's what we are telling the manufacturer. You need to use concrete. Then they have, when they do the shop drawings, they have their engineers stamp the whatever structural elements apply to the signs, and they are the ones that have all the dimensions of those bases. Usually,
Okay.
that's why what we provide is called design intent drawings. These
Mhm.
are general guidelines for the fabricator to produce the shop drawings. The shop drawings are a lot more detailed. For example, we show screws on the details of the signs, but we don't tell them what size screws on what. Their shop drawings show everything
Okay.
up to the size of the screw.
Right.
So
So what you've put together in this wayfinding document is enough for us to walk into a sign manufacturer, and they can give us shop drawings.
yes, that's correct. And then, during the bidding process, usually there may be a back and forth. They may request for information. They may produce RFIs. We are there to respond. They may value engineer. They may suggest other processes and materials. There's a whole section at the end of this manual that are fabricator specifications. So it's very clear that if they want to substitute, if they want to suggest something, they need to do it in writing. It needs to be approved by us and by the client or the representative of the client. It's not like, oh, we'll do it this way because it's cheaper, and they convince you that it's better. This section, we have the placement guidelines section that also it's pretty typical as to how far the signs have to be from the sidewalk, different ways. If there are elements protruding in the sidewalk, what's the distance, the minimum distance, distance from trees, minimum height, distance from the curve, distance from light poles. And then, then we go to the usage guidelines. These usage guidelines, I'm not going to go through them because it's very boring and you have the document and you can read them. But
Can I
basically,
interrupt you for a second, Gladys?
yes, sure.
Joe has a question.
Yeah, can we go back to the previous slides that had the placement?
Mhm.
That one, and I guess the previous one as well. So, and I apologize. Maybe all my answers are buried in here if I would have looked at this in detail beforehand. But what is the basis for these dimensions, or what standard are you referencing when you say, this is what we're recommending, distance from the edge of pavement, distance from walkways and so forth for the placement of posts and so forth? What standards are you referring to?
Well, these are general standards. So these are sort of common sense viewing standards, safety standards. It's a combination. It's not any particular DOT, from any part of the country standards. These are things that we've been using on all our projects, but they don't follow any particular set of standards. So sometimes we look at the traffic control devices, but then again, these are generalities, because once you go to the particular site, there may be a tree that has roots that even if you want to put it at a certain distance, you have to remove it, put it further out because there's a risk. Or if there are particular instances, for example, a tree that is in front of the proposed sign, and maybe the tree is not in good condition, and the city or county decides that they can remove it or move it somewhere else. So, as I said, this is just a manual and guidance.
Okay, so Todd has a question.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just, excuse me, Barb, I would just say that I don't think that that's going to work. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, Gladys, but I think we are bound by certain standards like MUTCD and PROAG that we're going to get in trouble because you provide some dimensions here that if we were to follow these, is probably not going to be good in some instances.
Mhm. Yes, that's why I'm saying these are guidelines. Then it needs to apply to each situation. I mean, it's nothing that will be installed or proposed will be in contradiction with any local or MUCTD directions or VDOT, or that's where you know, the manufacturer also investigates all the permitting that is needed, and they usually will not install anything without making sure that it complies with any regulations that are local, general code. So as I said, these are just generalities. Then when we go to each situation,
Can I
we
interrupt for a second?
yes.
It may be good in this document to make it clear, you know, between the shop drawings and the, I can't remember the term that you used, for what is in this document, kind of the process, you know, and also maybe the way to deal with the placement guidelines is to reference that, you know, actual sign installations will need to comply with state, federal, local, you know, something so that someone doesn't pick it up and get the wrong impression. Todd,
Yes.
do you have a question still, or are you good?
No, I have a question, and actually I like your suggestion, Barb. So my question is under the sign drawing section, which is earlier. You specify, depending on which sign and size and so forth, you know, a 5x5 painted steel post with breakaway attachment, or 3x3 painted steel post, or 4x4 painted steel post. Do you have any specifications in here regarding the steel post and the type of paint and so forth to go on that? If so, I missed it, but I haven't reviewed it thoroughly yet.
No, I mean, what I say is that in terms of the breakaway, in terms of the base, that all those details are handled by the sign fabricator. There are different brands of breakaway, and they will have to show that on the shop drawings. I mean, on all the drawings, it says this drawing represents design intent only.
Ah,
That
design
means-
intent. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
That means that none of these elements are going to be used to fabricate the signs. These are guidelines so that, you know, when you go out to bid these, everybody has the same specifications and they provide the same product. But all the details, we typically do not develop that level of detail as to what's the thickness of the post, or I mean, that's on the general guidelines. If the post is 4x4, 1/8 inch aluminum or steel or whatever it is, it will still keep being that when it comes to the end of the post. I mean, there's no variation. The size of these bolts and screws we don't provide. Typically, these are, for example, Transpo Pole Safe is a brand of breakaway, and they have all the specifications for that particular brand in their website. And so,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
we
think
don't-
we're getting so that we understand that the shop drawings are really what has a lot of the detail.
Mhm.
Chet, do you have a question?
More of a comment. If you look in the back of this document, starting on page 30 through, there's description of the standards and how they should be applied. And 33 actually references MUTCD and VDOT standards. So I think some of the questions are addressed, but we just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, that's good. Naomi?
Yes, thank you. Could y'all go back to one of the images that has Petersburg on one of the signs? It's orangey yellow color.
Mhm.
Okay. We had a very fun email chain where we tried to determine what color we were going to go for, whether blue or yellow, and we settled on yellow. And this color looks different from the one that we had been emailing about. I have it on my screen if you want me to share my screen or just send it to you all. And maybe it's because of contrast that was needed, but just let me know if we can get this more on the yellow side that we talked about instead of the orange side.
Yeah. Well, first of all, colors on the screen are never correct because it's a color pixels through light. Usually we define them by the Pantone books, and typically they will have to provide a sample of the painted material. What you're saying about the yellow, yes, there are contrast issues. We never use the one that you can call yellow. We usually define it as mustard or gold, and it tends to be to have a little bit more of red and tend to orange. But as I said, once you implement the project, we can ask the fabricator to produce different samples and to show the white letters on the sample to make sure that they are readable. That's one of the concerns. It needs to be 70% contrast between the background and the letter. So yellow is a tricky color. Although we are not displaying any information that if somebody can't read it, they will get lost. It's just the brand of the city or county. So we could be more lenient in terms of not sticking as much to.
So I think there was a point where there was a gold or color for Petersburg. Was that what you were referencing?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Naomi?
I said yellow, but I mean the gold color, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can get that switched back. I think Gladys, you had looked at that color and it must have the contrast correct.
Yeah,
We circulated that around for a little bit.
All right. Yeah, if you can send me the color and we can
Right.
keep discussing it. This is it will be changed until it's to your satisfaction because
I appreciate it. Thanks.
it
And then
needs- yes.
I was
So-
also curious, so with these guidelines, is there any funding that's in mind already for implementation, or is that up to the jurisdiction to identify funding and implement these wayfinding signage?
I'm going to let Chet address that. I know that he's been talking to Dorona about funding, so I might not be as to date on that.
Yeah, the funding is not covered as of yet, but we are looking at multiple options to either apply for grants to cover that kind of cost, or partner with other organizations to make it happen.
Great, thanks. Yeah, let us know if we need to start, making initiatives on our own, or if you all are gonna keep kind of taking the lead on this to help us implement and fund it. Just let us know if we need to start looking for opportunities as well.
Yeah, thanks. And Brantley just put in the chat. I mean, TAP funds are a good source for that. So Ron's on the call too. CMAQ is also an option, I think.
Oh, nice. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Gladys, we hijacked your presentation, but I think we're back on track.
No, not a problem. I mean, I really like the interaction and the feedback. It helps us improve and include things that we might have not thought about. So feel free to interrupt anytime you want, because I appreciate it being, interactive. So anyway, yeah, I was saying this signage master plan, as I said, it's a lot of pages with text. Basically, it explains content standards, location standards, four-lane trail autonomy, recommendations for message content, orientations for the directional signs, the orientation signs, the nomenclature and standards. This was from the draft that we received. The circulation theory, the signage categories, the usage criteria for each of the different signs. So it explains what's going on the map on the right section, the left section, the ground decal, where we propose a vinyl decal, but alternatives could include the metal medallions, thermoplastic stamped concrete, and tile mosaics. So as I said, this is a manual, and I don't think that we have to decide on one of these. As long as the integrity of the logotype for the trail is kept, we can apply different materials on different sections based on how easy it is to use metal on this section, or how viable it is to do the tile mosaics, or if there's a project in the locality where people want to create tile mosaics as a project and use it. So I don't have a problem with using different options, because, as I said, the most important thing is the integrity of the identity.
Gladys Brantley has a question.
Yes.
I appreciate adding this, and I think it's a little it's good for us to be able to recognize this is going to be future work. I'm a little concerned that this is a little too prescriptive with the image and the white background. I think it would be nice if I appreciate the second paragraph kind of giving us some flexibility, but I also am a little worried that if we say, here's a large vinyl decal, that's the cheapest and has a lot of negative characteristics, even though it would be kind of quick for us to get them down. I just wonder, and I also am a little worried about no comments about colors, because I think some of the elements that we would potentially implement would be non-colored. They would be, textural or embossed, something of that nature. As long as everyone agrees that this is something that we can work with to identify each of the things in the bottom list for future decision, I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that this doesn't look like we're agreeing on putting down white backed vinyl stickers.
Yeah, I wanted to comment too that, Gladys gave us that option of the reverse with white letters and black background. Could you put that, you have the rendering with the white decal. Can you put a rendering with the black decal as well?
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm with you, Brantley, as far as the vinyl decal kind of being a interim solution, you know, while we try to figure out what we would want to do long term. So sort of phase one, perhaps.
Yeah, I think I saw a very nice option, which is like embossed. It has a little bit of thickness. It may be just all white, but it's on the pavement. It's very clear. So there are some nice options that we can explore depending on the location and the space that we have to use that. But I was also discussing, you know, displaying the names of the streets when you cross the trail, because you may be running or biking and at some point everything looks the same, trees and a trail, and you may not know exactly where you are. So the trail doesn't go through the corners of streets where you have the street names. So it may be nice to say, okay, you're crossing Dumbarton or you're crossing Hilliard. So that also could be embossed if there's pavement, it could be embossed on the trails. So there are, and then the branded crosswalks also, that's something that, like when we get to Henrico, there are all the crossings through streets, they don't have zebra lines, they don't have anything. So instead of putting white lines, it will be, it's a good opportunity if you have to put something, maybe to use a branded crosswalk. So there are some elements that may not be here. We may include it. This whole document is a draft. So that's why I like when you intervene and when you give us ideas or suggestions, because we can still work on it and add.
Hey, Gladys, Naomi has a question or a comment.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I know there was a survey going around about pavement markings. Is this ground decal the result of that survey, or do you all have the results on the preference in terms of crosswalks and ground decals?
I created that survey, so that was not really meant to be to generate a conclusive favorite, in part because some of these are going to take policy decisions that are forthcoming. So really it was meant to be kind of advisory and to kind of gauge the interest of the stakeholders in this group so that we can work with VDOT to move some of their interpretations of what's allowed. And the survey and the conversations that happened during the vision plan charrette helped move that needle, but I think it's going to take a few months. So I think just being able to, particularly about the crosswalks, I think being able to display that this team sees the value in it is what we need at this point. And from a design standpoint, I think it's very possible that we can work with what's in here, which is going to be very severely limited by MUTCD about what's allowed.
Thanks.
And to respond briefly to your question, we originally thought of a vinyl decal, and then when we received with the results of and the suggestions of that survey, we added all the paragraph with all the other options. So yes, I guess it will depend on what's allowed as well. So then there's a listing of recommended vendors. We just suggested 2 vendors that Colorado is the vendor that did and is doing still all the signs for Richmond, the city of Richmond. And Superior Signs, I understand they did part of the Appomattox River Trail with good success. So there are more local vendors, but these are the ones that we know for sure that did a good job. So the ones that we recommend. And then general maintenance practice. In other words, all this section is, for example, if a locality, a city, a county wants to explore doing signs for a section of the trail, they have all the elements to make a decision if they don't necessarily want to engage a design firm for the whole process. you have guidelines to be able to think, okay, we want this, and this signs. And then you can run it with the design company and say, is this feasible? Is that what's recommended? Of course, you have all the original plan where we already located signs in suggested locations. So that's another element for verification. And then are the fabricator guidelines, which they specify what the design intent drawings are, and that it talks about the written dimensions, the scale details, the recommendations for materials, the prefabrication requirements. The fabricators have always to go and survey the site before installing any signs. There's a lot of text here that it's true. It responds some of the questions that were posed here before. It talks about subcontracting, shop drawings, that they need to be submitted for review and approval. Typically, we provide the artwork. So the artwork is scale 1:1. So they have to follow, usually they will use our files to fabricate, as opposed to produce their own files, which may have different margins, different letter heights, different space between lines, different sizes for the arrows. So since everything is digital, we provide them the artwork that they can use directly to print the signs or to produce the signs. If there are fonts that they don't have, they have to legally acquire them at their own expense. Many times the fabricator will ask us, can you send us the fonts? We can send them the fonts, but legally they have to own their own the fonts. Universe is a easy to get font, and it's not an expensive font anyway. The samples and prototypes, we will request samples of the materials and mainly the colors, because as I said, when we display the colors on a drawing, if we print the document, the color on the screen will look one way, the color on the printed paper will look one way, the color on the Pantone book will look another way, and when they use paint or vinyl on the sign, it will look different. So they need to provide samples of the colors and the materials. We need to approve those before fabrication. The installer, the fabricator is in charge of any permits that are required, acquiring the permits, paying for the permits, insurances, inspections, tests, any tests required by any governmental agencies. They are responsible for verifying an insurance compliance with ADA, OSHA, any other regulations. Also, they are responsible for the structural aspects of the design of the signs. We recommend that they label the signs. It will not be the first time that a signage fabricator installs the sign. If it's two-sided, they install it the wrong way, facing the wrong way. So we require that they label side A and side B. We put specifications in terms of the delivery and the storage, the packaging, to make sure that the signs don't get damaged. The on-site coordination, different elements such as inspections, safety, material standards, and then we specify the metals, the fasteners, the paints and finishes, what we recommend for paint, because there are different qualities of paint, they are different prices, they are different processes for applying the paint. So we try to make sure that they comply with if they need pre-treatment, primers, coatings. All this information is pretty boring. It's available for you to read and pick. And if you have comments, please do send them to us so that we can correct, adjust, improve. Specifications for vinyl films, for vinyl banners, for regular banners, the attachments for the banners. In terms of the project completion, the review and the punch list, typically we check all the signs for accuracy, we check them for damage, we check them for anything and everything, and if there's something that needs to be amended, we produce a punch list and the fabricator has to make the corrections. There are some elements that will have warranties, like the banners, the vinyl, the paint. So all those need to be provided. If the fabricator wants to use the images of the signs in their website, they probably need to get permission from the owner and designer. And that's pretty much it for the generalities of the signs. Then we have another document that is a draft as well of the two sections for Henrico County. So if there are no questions or comments on this, we can move to the next file.
Any questions?
Hi, when would you like our comments to you if we have any edit suggestions?
I think a couple of weeks, probably.
Great,
If
thanks.
that sounds reasonable. So,
November 15th.
yes, that will be good.
Perfect.
So this starts with the programming for section 1 of Henrico. So all these signs that are shown here, they were, when we showed the 43 miles of trail, many of these were already there. When we walked the trail, we added some more signs or became more specific. We changed some of them, so we adjusted. But so we started here at the exit of Bryant Park, where the trail goes into Henrico County. And we could only do until this section, because that was, I think, no, until this section, because that was all that was cleared. Then we couldn't have access to the trail. So we tried to come through from the sides, but it wasn't feasible. So actually this is showing all this section, but we went only through here.
Gladys,
So-
can I interrupt? Todd has a question.
Yes, sure.
So if I'm looking at this right, this looks like the alignment that was generated as part of the VDOT A to P study, including the marker, the mile marker delineation. So the alignment has changed on some of these. I know we had provided the CAD files and the GIS files for the current alignment. Is this what this is based on? First question. And second question, the mile marker designation has changed, and it's starting at mile 0 in Ashland and coming south. So this is going in the opposite direction, and the mile marker numbers don't match.
Well, no, the mile marker numbers are just the number of the sign. So it's not mile 2 or mile 3.
Ah, okay.
And the mile markers, we still don't know exactly what mile it is. So as I
Yeah.
said, this is just a draft. But yes, we are doing it south to north, but actually we know that the miles will come north to south. So yeah, regarding that, yeah. Then the CAD drawings, we just received them yesterday. So probably this is not, if there were modifications to this, it's not, we use the GIS plans that were provided to us maybe a month ago or more. So I don't think if, I don't know where their adjustments were made or we were following. So I had a question that wasn't clear to me and probably will modify a lot of this. This section, so this section that starts on Spring Park, we saw that all this section was cleared. So we were walking this all the way to here on a cleared section. So I'm assuming that that's the trail. I didn't know if that part of the trail is going to be paved or not.
Yes, that part will be paved, and what you walked is more or less the alignment. The changes for this phase are really more through the Spring Park area back to Lakeside, and the start point is different than what's shown on here. So that's all reflected in the CAD files that you just received. So this is not a major realignment, but it is different than what you've generated here.
Okay. Yeah, we need to adjust that. And also we didn't know that it was going to be paved. So for example, we put signs here that say the trail continues. You will see it on the photographs afterward. But if the trail is paved, we don't need those because you follow the pavement. So we can eliminate some of these smaller signs. And actually the mile signs, we just put an arbitrary mileage because we don't know exactly what mile it was. And we are expecting some help from VDOT to tell us which mile is which. We also guesstimated, this is half mile, this probably is half mile, but it's not accurate. It's just an estimation. So basically, after we looked at these proposed locations, then these are the proposed signs all the way to what we were able to get through. And then what we did is we tried to show how the sign will look on the location. So this, for example, will be the Bryant Park trailhead, but I separated the floor plan so we can toggle back and forth. We put it here on the second, there's a little entrance here, and then there's a second entrance here. I don't know if you said that it varied, if it went to this first entrance or if it went further into another entrance. But what is shown right now is that second entrance that has the gates. Of course, it shows in front of the gates, but it should go behind. That's why we did this close-up. Basically, the sign will have the name, the different activities. That is the walking, the biking, the playground, the picnic tables, the soccer, the tennis, the golf. What is it called? The
Frisbee golf, disc golf.
Disc golf, exactly. And the pickleball. And then the rules that, as I said, it's something that we still need to establish. And the map that also is just for position only. This probably will be the back of the signs because since coming from the Bryant Park, I thought all that we need to say is the trail continues on the street as you get out. Then this is located as you exit the park and you're walking towards Lakeside Avenue. We thought it will be useful to, because on Lakeside Avenue, you have the US Bike Route 1 and the East Coast Greenway. So we thought we will mark those. And then the Spring Park Trailhead and the Belmont Recreation Center. We took all these destinations from that draft for destinations, but then I think once we move to the different sections, we would like to work directly with Henrico to get feedback as to whether what we are suggesting is accurate, is a destination that is worth marking on a sign, or if you want other destinations to be on the sign. So as I said, this is just the first approach that we have and this would be that same sign on the back side, where basically will show the entrance to the Bryant Park and all the activities that are there.
We're running a little over, Gladys.
Sorry.
That's okay. Other people might have appointments. So if you don't mind just kind of giving an overview, I'm sure Henrico will be looking at this in detail and getting back to you with the alignment change and comments that they have.
All right. So yeah, basically, this is the pedestrian sign that is on the road and that has the changeable elements. Then we thought there would be here a mile marker. Then we saw an opportunity to use a post to put a plate.
I like those.
Then this is where it crosses, where you arrive here at the corner and you need to cross to Spring Park. You need to cross the road. So this will be those little signs that say trail continues. So you cross to the other side of this one is Bryant Park Avenue. And then so this sign will be here, and then here there's one that says trail continues the other way. This will be an opportunity to make a branded crosswalk, because here there are no zebra lines, and actually the way it's marked, people are meant to be crossing here, there's the median, then they keep crossing and then they walk that way. So here on this corner, once they crossed, did I skip one? Okay. Here it says use marked crosswalk. There was supposed to be another sign, the urban sign. Here it says
Todd has a question.
Yes.
So yeah, real quick on the branded crosswalk, we have talked about that. Internally, we've worked on different design options, and a number of our trail sections, including where it crosses Lakeside here, will be on a VDOT maintained facility. So I guess my question is for Liz. We're not really getting positive feedback from location and design at VDOT to do any type of branded crosswalk. Is that something you can help us navigate through your group so that we have some options on these crosswalks?
Sure. You mean you're not getting any input, or you're not getting? Are you getting a response?
We're not getting support for any deviation from standard VDOT crosswalk.
Okay, so what I can do is run that through the district L&D and get them to help facilitate a discussion with them.
Maybe we can set up a meeting with you to kind of talk through what we're thinking before you kind of
sure.
Through,
I don't know if you'll be on it, but I have a meeting with you guys this afternoon to talk studies, so we could do it then.
Yeah, we can cover it then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Liz and Todd, I just want to let you know that Mark and Scott and I talked about this issue at the Fall Line Vision Plan Charrettes 2 weeks ago, and Mark seemed to have a lot of optimism about it. So there's certainly some things that we can share in terms of best practices, and I think generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but I think that we're looking for the opportunity to have something. It's like what it is certainly flexible as long as it looks different, it is novel, and it doesn't necessarily convey a typical crosswalk, but otherwise it doesn't necessarily have to be like a mural or something like that. So
right.
I think we can find some common ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good with that approach.
Perfect. So yeah, Todd and I'll, we can chat quickly this afternoon, but it sounds like Brantley, we probably need to get a call with maybe you, Todd, me, Mark, and Scott all together and see what we can do. And I'll bring in someone from L&D on that call too, from the district level.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Yes, once we can sort of get a green light, we can design different options that are more extensive in terms of how we use the brand, or more minimal, and give some options for how to implement that. In any case, just to keep going. So this will be a pedestrian sign showing different destinations and miles, minutes, bike minutes, walk minutes. This will be the back of that sign. This is on the newly paved parking. It will be on this section that there's this parking that shows probably an arrow to turn here.
Hey, Todd has a question.
Interrupt again, but this is the whole section where the alignment has changed and actually runs through the parking lot. So unless you just want to cover this for illustrative purposes, Gladys, I mean, this is all going to need to be revised with the alignment shift.
All right. But this parking lot will be available, correct?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So we'll review that. But I'm going forward. Yeah, this will be where we thought it will be the trailhead sign. We saw these lines marked, so we assume this is the trail. So
that's close to the trail. That was for the groundbreaking we did the other week.
Okay. Yeah, well, as I said, somewhere in this area we will have the trailhead sign with the regulations, and then okay. This is further into the trail where we will have the distances and the different locations. This will be the same sign from the back. This could be an opportunity to use a plate on a post. As I said, if the trail is paved, this little sign that says the trail continues probably is not needed. We identified, the section, so you sort of know where we are. This will be the same sign from the back. So again, we added 2 of the signs to say that's the trail. The Michael Avenue and Vale Street, we thought will be a good location for a mile marker, but of course it depends on where the half mile falls. Then again, we put another sign saying the trail goes, because the trail was curving, so we thought if it's not paved, you will not necessarily know that you have to keep going that way.
Okay, so do you mind if we really go through these quickly?
Yes.
I know Henrico will be reviewing them in detail with you, and
yeah, this is almost. So yeah, this is where you get to Dumbarton Avenue. And this is Dumbarton and Gillespie Avenue where you cross. This is the last section that we did, that the trail continues. And this is where it's no longer available to walk through. So this will be the last pedestrian sign probably. And this is the back of the sign, and that's pretty much it. As I said, we need to sit probably with Henrico and discuss the destinations, different aspects where it was relocated, how it aligns right now. So this was just an example of how we intend to work with each section of the trail, with each county or city.
okay, so in the agenda, it says Hanover and Henrico. Have you developed something for Hanover as well?
No,
Or
not
is-
at this time, because we saw that there's probably just the trailhead and that section of the bridge that is finished. So yeah, we can develop that um, in the future. But also we would like to probably, instead of guessing whether this the trail was paved or and you know, doing all this work of putting extra signs, maybe we think that it's better to get together with Hanover and with Henrico and further develop these designs for these locations.
Okay. There's action in the agenda to recommend TAC consideration of the draft fall line as a living document. We earlier said that we would review the document and get comments in 2 weeks, so maybe this action is premature. I'll let Chet weigh in on that.
Yes, I agree. I think that it would be worthwhile to have something more substantial for Hanover and Henrico, since the design build study is underway too. So I think it does make sense. I mean, Gladys, if you can schedule time with Henrico and Hanover to at least preliminarily go through your thoughts before putting together the document, and then maybe we can bring it back to the next fall-in work group meeting. Barb, if that
Well,
makes sense to you.
That makes sense.
I think that these sections for the counties should not be part of the living document. I think this section that includes, you know, the signs, the specifications, all these, the typefaces, logos, color palette, images, sign family, and then all the
Okay.
signs with the usage specifications, the user specifications, and the fabricator specifications. That should be the living document that hopefully we will get your feedback on November 15th. And after we incorporate your comments, I think that should be the living document. Now, each section for each county, I believe it should be a separate element that progresses as we
It's
can
its own
develop the
plan
project.
that uses this living document as its guide.
Yes, exactly. Because Henrico, for example, we are only going to be doing a section, but there are more sections. So I wouldn't incorporate that into the living document.
But some of the
I-
conversation that you have with Henrico and Hanover might inform
Influence.
some revisions to the document. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
test drive.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
So, you know, we've got the 2 weeks to get comments back. And maybe since it looks like the Henrico plan is a little bit further along, some of the conversations with Henrico might generate comments in addition for the document.
Yes, yes. I think in any case, this core document, we can and we will. It's still a live document, because let's say there's a situation where we want a pedestrian sign that has more lines than the originally planned, or we have less lines and we don't want to spend the money having empty lines and a larger sign. So we may have a smaller pedestrian, medium pedestrian, large pedestrian. So all those signs will eventually be incorporated into the manual.
Okay.
And the same could happen with vehicular, with, you know,
Yep,
regulations.
Joe's got a
So-
comment.
Real
Mhm.
quick, thank you. So Todd, if you don't mind, I would love to sit in on your conversation when you go through your particular section with Gladys. I think it will definitely help educate us and have us thinking about certain things when we look at Hanover. And then when we do Hanover, I think we need to include Ashland as well in that and I think we don't have to have separate. I think Hanover Ashland can be combined, but there is some portion of the trail that's in Ashland, so they should be part of that.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay. So 2 weeks to get comments back on the draft plan. And Gladys will be working with Henrico and then also Hanover and Ashland on their specific section plans.
Mhm. Yes.
All right, we'll move on in the agenda now to member updates. Anyone? Todd, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, to follow up to the last suggestion, we'll be glad to meet with Gladys and her team and include Joe and Nora if you want to join as well. That's fine. My question, I guess, is more for Chet. Do you want us to coordinate directly with Gladys? Do you want us to go through you?
I don't want to slow anything down. I think we need to keep moving this forward. So I'd be happy to participate if schedules allow. So yeah,
Right,
whatever you prefer, Todd.
We'll include you as optional, and my question also is for Brantley, since some of this will involve the branding and placemaking place. Do you want to be involved in that meeting? Do you want to review the plans when we get them revised? How do you want to work that?
I'm happy to join the meeting. I recall it's this afternoon. Is that right?
Well, that's just on the crosswalks, but as far as I'm not talking through more of the specifics of the Henrico plan, first piece.
Sure, I'll be involved.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Member updates. Does maybe Liz wants to get us started with Design Build 1?
Sure. Actually, I don't have any updates on Design Build 1. We're still tracking forward as planned. Design Build 2, though, we have a little bit of progress. We've been meeting with other state agencies and as well as some of the tribes in the area, and we've gotten at least permission to write up a permit request to go do some of the borings to present that information to them. So we are making some progress. It's not a lot of good news, but for us, it's a big win that we're at least having the conversation now. And so we still meaning we might be able to make some progress on the alignment that we all want. So
yeah,
hopefully more updates next month.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Todd, do you want to give, or Sharon, an update on Henrico?
I'll let Sharon do it.
Well, that's okay. I was going to ask Liz a question about, it's come up recently with some of our sections about the Fall Line Trail design guideline and bollards. I think we need to continue that discussion.
Yeah, I know that bollards is not looked upon great from VDOT from a safety standpoint. And the design guidelines, I've asked central office to step in and help us get that wrapped up. So we're looking for a consultant right now. We decided to go ahead. We had finished the contract with Tool. So we have everything they've done, all the files they have, the draft, and everyone's comments. And we're just trying to get a consultant on board who can hopefully quickly wrap that into a document that I can get to you guys.
Okay, because yeah, right now we're getting comments on like some of our bridges to put up bollards. So
you're getting comments that people want bollards?
Or we're getting comments from VDOT to, I think, bridge and structures to put up bollards or try to figure out a workaround. So
okay,
I think it just needs more discussion. I think at our last week we agreed to discuss more, and I was going to reach out to you.
Okay. Let me see. We might be able to handle that specific situation more quickly. So let me talk to a couple people before we meet this afternoon, and I might be able to get some people to talk to your people to help fix that problem.
And just a side note, meetings tomorrow at
Thursday. Yeah, you're right. Yep. It is. Sorry, Todd.
No worries. Real quick, Barb, as far as Henrico update, we did have our groundbreaking, as I mentioned earlier, for the Spring Park phase. Within the last 2 weeks, a number of people on this call did attend. It went well, and it was wrapped into a big announcement from sports backers, which people haven't heard. Brantley, do you want to mention that?
We're excited to be moving our office to the former Bank of America building right at the site. If everyone is not aware, it is a convenient location for local politics that we're right on the edge of the city county line, so we get to be the gateway to both localities on the Fall Line, and we just began our fundraising campaign at the groundbreaking. So I think we've already made some developments there, and we're working quickly to be able to start getting it renovated so we can move in. We're really looking forward to the opportunity that we'll use the outdoor part of the building, sort of converting the ATM lanes to be an outdoor fitness studio. And we're really excited about the trailhead developments that I think Kristen is working on with the bathrooms, and just got an email about some color scheme stuff. So, and while I have the mic, I really want to just thank everyone for their participation with the Fall Line Vision Plan, both in May and this past month. It's shaping up to be a really exciting document, and I think we're getting ready to hit the ground running with some placemaking elements, particularly around Spring Park.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else have an update? Future topics then. Next on our agenda, we discuss that. We'll get another update on where we are on sections. And we'll be able to hopefully take the action that was on the agenda today on the draft plan for wayfinding. Our next meeting is December 6th. And if there's no other comments, we'll adjourn. Looks good. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks
Bye.
all.
Thank you.